Hello everybody. I am Lady R slash. Yep, that's right, Lady R slash. I'm the one behind what's been going on here, and we've had such a good response that I wanted to come on in person and share with you from me to you, and I actually would like to know if you prefer it either way. Do you care about the computer voice? Would you rather hear more in-person shares? Let me know. I'd really like to hear from some of the listeners out there. Alright, this is your escape. All you need to do is sit back, relax, and listen. Today I have for you 28 people who have shared experiences about cheating. They're sharing their darkest secrets. This is emotional, it's eye-opening, and it's downright wild. So let's get into it. Number 1. My husband of 25 years had an affair with his boss, a famous singer who hired him to play guitar in her band. He knew her for 3 months before he left me and our 9-year-old son. That was last May. He moved out the same day. He told me that I had made him miserable for years and that the trauma of my sexual assaults were the reason he went looking elsewhere for a physical relationship. The shame, the self-loathing and gaslighting that followed left me gasping for air. But I still had to wake up every day. I still had to be a parent to our child. One day, the woman he left me for reached out to say if I ever felt like processing this with her, she was available. 9 months later, I am ready and I have a lot to say.
Now.
This one's interesting, guys. I want to know what you would do. I'm not quite sure I would want to talk to anyone about this, especially the person that he cheated on me with 9 months later. I would hope that I'd move on by then. But what do you guys think? Would you always hold a little chip that maybe you could get everything off your chest and process it with the person that did wrong to you and your family?
Let me know what you think.
What would you do? What would you want to do? All right, on to number 2. They say, I was the cheater. I had been with the same guy for 4 years, and it wasn't going anywhere. But I had a very bad feeling that he wasn't going to let go of me, let me out of this relationship without a good reason. I tried many times before to break it off, but he always came back saying he would change, and of course I stupidly took him back, and I believed him. He never did change. What a shocker, but I wanted out, so I ended up cheating and I told him the next day what I had done. Well, immediately he breaks it off. He's crying and screaming at me, telling me I was a whore. I haven't seen him since, and they add that I know he shit-talked to me to all of our mutual friends, which caused me to pretty much lose all of my friends. But it was a small price to pay. I felt like I couldn't get out any other way. At the time. Let's note they were only 18. I was too ashamed, they say, to admit to anyone what I was going through. I have since grown up quite a bit. I've gone to therapy, and I'm even married. Never cheated after that. It was only that one time. So here is something interesting. Okay, they're cheating to end a relationship. Very interesting. Has anyone out there tried that? Does it work? Do you feel good when you're done with that? I'd be curious to know. Alright, let's go on to number 3. This one sounds fun. I found V'ger tablets in my husband's drawer.
Huh.
I was shocked. One packet had been taken already, and one was full. Well, at the time, I'm running late for work, so I thought I'd speak to him when I got back, like get home after work. I check everything, and I found out that he took 2 tablets while I was gone at the office. And I asked him about it, and he lied to my face 3 times, so I leave it alone. The next day, I check his phone, and the day he took those tablets, he had taken a 45-minute Uber ride away from the house. Well, he told me he was working at home that entire day.
Huh.
Liars and cheaters go together. I guess it's true, right? Well, okay, on to number 4. I was in a long-term relationship with my boyfriend. We were living together when I find out we're expecting a baby. The night before my first prenatal appointment, he went out to celebrate with his friends. Of course he did. His phone was off all night, and I was super worried. He showed up at the doctor's office on time, but was reeking of alcohol. Not only was that happening, he was also covered in hickeys. Well, I broke up with him right after the appointment. That one's got a sting. Don't you think you're pregnant? He goes out that night. That's pretty harsh. Oh, right on to number 5. After 2 years of dating my ex, we started having a lot of issues in our relationship that it became really clear to me that we were simply not a good match, but I still felt like maybe we could work things out. My coworker, who was always a great friend to me, became sort of a confidant, giving me advice and talking me through some things with me when my ex and I would fight. He'd even grab a drink with me after work when I was upset. Even though this started out totally platonic on both of our ends, I realized after a couple of months that I was developing these feelings for him. One night, after getting drinks, we hooked up and I ended things with my ex about a week later. That's how fast it happened. The hookup was something that opened my eyes to how little I was invested in actually making my relationship work. I'm not proud of cheating on my ex, but I don't think that this sort of thing should be vilified as much as it is. I mean, what do you guys think? Okay, because here's the second story of someone cheating only to find out they actually should be leaving. Is that a way out? Not sure? Maybe it is a good tactic, you tell me. Number 6. We were together for 5 years and finally got engaged. During the wedding planning, he started getting all stressed, and he was saying it was too soon, so we called the wedding off. Then, he kept going to hang out with his mom's friend. He was smoking weed with her, and that was fine with me. I don't smoke, but it was fine with me. But something was bugging me. So when he told me he was going to hang out with her and went for a shower, first I opened up phone and saw her say to him, "I love you," and then he says, "I love you too, babe." Back. I threw his phone at him while he was in the shower and made him move out that night. I'm so much better off now. Well, I guess you could say this is a happy ending. You know you're diverting, you're avoiding a trap, you're avoiding something that clearly is going to end bad. And although it was very ugly, again we have cheating leading to a final solution. Didn't really think of cheating that way, but I guess maybe that's a way to think about it. Alright, well, let's move on. I want to cheat so badly. My husband has been lying to me since before we got married, on issues both big and small. We have 3 kids, and he has fought me on setting the rules and boundaries with our kids since the beginning. I hate him, and I hate my life. We'll just leave that one alone. On a number 8, 5 years into our relationship, my boyfriend decided to go on an extended backpacking trip after getting his degree, which was great. He was 25. Well, I stayed home and I worked for a few months, and we planned to reunite in Paris, and then after that we were going to spend a month there exploring the city. I did not find out until I got to Paris that he was in a full-blown relationship with another girl in England. And even though we were still FaceTiming, and we were romantic, every single day he would not be joining me in Paris. I spent that month exploring the city alone, drinking wine and crying.
Wow.
All I can say to that is ouch. Alright guys. On to number 9. My gut told me to Google my partner of 2 years. Okay, so I did, and once I did, their name and a cheater blog popped up as the first hit and had been updated only 2 weeks prior. I clicked the link, and I find photos of an online conversation between 2 women arguing over my boyfriend. Their profile photos and full names were on the pictures, and I looked them up on Facebook. I didn't confront them, but I did confront him, and all he said was, "Why are you Googling me?" There he goes, trying to make me the bad guy.
Wow.
Okay. On to number 10. I struggled to keep control of my borderline personality disorder when I was in my early 20s. The main issue I was having was hypersexuality. I had such a lovely boyfriend at the time, but he was an enabler of my mood shifts. He would give me a lot of wine, and he couldn't stand up to me when I was acting out. This 51-year-old man came and stayed at the pub I worked in, and I found him hot in kind of a George Clooney kind of way. So I slept with him until he had finished his work and left the accommodation. I told my boyfriend, but I feel like he must have known. I regret what I did deeply, and after our relationship ended, I took control of my mental health, and I'm now in a long-term, healthy relationship, and even have 2 beautiful girls. A cheating story with a happy ending. Alright, how about this one? We were in a long-term relationship. We're talking 2 years and had lived together for 6 months. A little after our 2-year anniversary, I noticed he began acting a bit more short and snappy, like everything I said just irritated him. I asked him if he had feelings for someone else, and he swore up and down that he didn't, that he was just stressed. I go out of town for a funeral. I missed my flight back, and it took him forever to get back to me, which I thought was strange when I was trying to get in touch with him. Now, fast forward to the holidays, when we were supposed to be hosting a Christmas party at our well. He tells me on the night of that party that a girl is coming over who I've never heard of. Then we have this blow up about it. We cancel the party an hour before it's supposed to start. The next morning, I woke up to him on a bended knee at my side with the ring, and for some reason I said, "Yes, wow, another happy ending." All right, on to number 12. My best friend also married, and I went for a night on the town and ended up hanging out with a male friend of hers and his roommate, since he had offered to be a designated driver for us. At the end of the night, we went back to their place for drinking games. Makes sense. The sober roommate ended up going to bed, and the rest of us piled into a bed and had a threesome. We were all pretty drunk and never spoke about it again. So here we have the typical I was drunk when I did it, kind of like the stories we hear while I played in college. Only this girl wasn't in college and she was married, so she had her experience a little late, but I guess we'll just leave that one be all right. On to the next one. My boyfriend of 2 years cheated on me with his friend. I suspected something towards the end, and friends even told me they thought something was up with them, because he was always on her Instagram. No, I don't have Instagram, she says. So, I confronted him about it many times, and he denied it. Then he said he needed a break from us, so after 2 weeks of being ignored, he started seeing this girl officially. He never even formally broke up with me. I also found out that he did cheat on me with the girl towards the end of our relationship. Then about a week after that, the girl shows up at my work to yell at me for sticking my nose into their relationship. She called me crazy. I say, excuse me, what? She and my boyfriend were sleeping with each other for 2 months before we even broke up, and that was none of my business. I have to say, I side with this girl. Hey, you want to cheat? You know you're on your way out. Just get it done, and then go for it. But don't blame the person you cheated on, right? All right? Number 14, I had been living with my girlfriend in New York City for a few months, and we had a routine of attending separate gyms each morning, and then we would meet up for coffee and breakfast. This was on Saturdays. Well, this particular time, she left for the gym first, and this was unusual. She said she had an early session with her trainer. She left me a list of chores that needed to be done before I could leave for the gym, and I'm hyper-focused, so I finished them quickly and then I leave for the gym, my gym. As I got to the lobby of our 6th floor walk-up, she was standing outside the front doors kissing the gay neighbor that she regularly had lunch with. Lunch was always happening because he would need advice on being gay, and since she was a lesbian, apparently she was the perfect one to provide advice. I open the doors and I say, looks like a good workout, and then I just left. I packed my bags literally, and left on the next train, and never saw her again after almost 2 years being together. Now, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but there's a lot of questions in that story, a lot of things I'd like to ask these guys. All of them, so I don't know. I hope they're all happy now, right? Number 15. I've been in a long-term and long-distance relationship for a long time now, and it's gotten to the point where I realized I ignore so many red flags for years, and I don't feel safe breaking up with him because now he's in a very dark place mentally. I mean, I love him with all my heart, but I don't love him in a romantic way anymore. A few months back, I was at a party and I had too many drinks and heavily made out with a friend of mine who I know is into me. We didn't sleep together, but we did get really close. I eventually left. Went back to my place, just cried myself to sleep. Yeah, I would too. That's pretty much a tragedy of living. Not a happy place, alright. How about this one? I dated my ex for almost 5 years, all throughout college, and about 6 months after that. It was a pretty small college community, and I always heard rumblings of him cheating, but it was always unfounded. You know, I don't believe everybody. I'd ask him or friends about it, and he would always gaslight me and tell me I was crazy to even think about that. I stayed with him because it was the only consistent thing that I felt I had at that time. After we broke up, I moved away and came back to visit our hometown for Christmas. We shared the same group of friends, and I went out with all of them for drinks one night. One of them tells me that they couldn't believe how strong I was to stay with him after everything he had done, and several other people that were there, they were just nodding along with him. I was dumbfounded and confused. Well, this girl's friends went on to reveal that he had cheated many times with multiple women, especially after leaving the bar, before coming home to meet her. She turns 21, and she went to Washington, D.C.
for an internship.
They lead her. Her friends later tell her that once their friends found out, he tells them not to bring it up because we were working it out in therapy, she says, and it was a sore subject for her. Although she never knew really what was going on. He was saving face in order to placate her and keep their friends. Who would you believe? Who would you even think to believe? To me, it sounds like just a big mess all around. And there's so many of them out there, right, like this one. I was in an abusive marriage for 20 years.
Wow,
20 years. Let that sink in for a minute.
Okay.
It started out right out of high school, and although lots of people tried to help me, I was in denial. I prayed constantly for God to heal my marriage, but things just kept getting worse. He'd brainwashed me to believe that I was useless, that I couldn't take care of myself, that it was only good for sex. I ended up falling in love with someone else. I was so messed up in the head, I thought there was no way out. I wanted to know for once in my life what it would be like to make love without fear, so I cheated. Of course, the experience opened my eyes to what two people could share. I found the strength to break free from that bad marriage. It was very hard because I had to learn how to see myself as having value beyond what I looked like, which matters even more as we age, still working on it. But now my body belongs to me. I'd call that a win in the cheating world. How about you, guys? How about this? I was with my boyfriend for almost 5 years before I had actual proof of him cheating on me, and then he moved from California to New York.
For me.
I had some suspicions along the way, but nothing too striking. We had talked about getting married all of the time, so one day, he suddenly became against it. Well, I knew something was up. I never looked through his phone, but one night had a strange feeling, so I looked through it while he was asleep. I found texts going back months to this one girl I sort of knew, talking about ravaging their bodies and making plans to meet up. He denied everything and said it was only emotional and never physical. Okay, well, I have a few things to ask you guys about that. Number 1. What do you feel about snooping? Is it worth it? Do you really think you have the full story when you snoop, because a lot of times you don't really understand what's going on? In this case, she was right. Sometimes you're not right. What do you think of that? And having an emotional relationship with someone outside of your core relationship, who sees that as a problem or not. Let me know. Number 19 people. My husband had a mental breakdown 6 years ago after years of therapy with me supporting him and taking care of the kids, the house, and our relationship. He was treating me like a caretaker, not a wife. He constantly criticized my appearance, my cooking, even my parenting. When a cute, younger male coworker started flirting with me, well, I flirted back, mostly by text. One time, he took a vacation day and jokingly invited me over. Well, I took him up on it. We had a fling for about a minute. My husband never knew, but I did file for divorce a year later. How about this one? I knew a guy from high school. We ended up living in the same town together, and we actually became good friends. That I had a crush on him, but he wasn't interested in me that way. We lost touch for a while, but reconnected over Skype work calls when we had the same employer. He was just about to get married. Well, suddenly he became really flirty. Our conversations gradually turned sexual. We ended up having sex a couple of months after he got married and continued this off and on for a couple of years. It worked for me because it was safe, and I wasn't going to get hurt because I knew he loved his wife. The guilt ate away at me, though. I used to be the one married to someone who had a secret life, and I got divorced when my husband came out of the closet. So, obviously she's feeling bad about something that she's doing, but she's satisfied with what she's getting herself. So, what do you think of that? Is that one-sided? Is it narcissistic? Is this how relationships should be? I'm curious what you guys think. There's a lot of cheating going on out there. How about this? We were together 17 years, married for 9, and had 3 kids together. We went on holiday and he spent hours locked in the bathroom with his phone. I accused him of cheating and he told me I was just paranoid and psycho, and he didn't want to be with me anymore. Well, we got home and he moved out. A couple of days later, a phone bill arrives. He had spent $300 calling the same number while we were away, and that is when he finally admitted that he had been having an affair with a woman he met on Facebook. We've all heard that one before. We hear that a lot on Facebook. People reconnect, maybe with someone that they knew a long time ago, as it happened to you. How about this? During my freshman year of college, I started dating a guy I met at a party. I hated my dorm roommate, so I moved in with him after knowing him for a week. It's probably not a good move, as it turns out he was a compulsive liar and a disgusting human. But I had gotten really close with his roommate and I wanted to keep hanging out with him, so I didn't break up with this guy. So for a few months, I was hooking up with this roommate every day while my boyfriend was at work. We went on dates. We spent the days together, the whole 9 yards. One time I was giving this roommate some attention when my boyfriend came home from work early. He never saw what was going on. He did give me a kiss. Eventually, I broke up with my boyfriend and stayed with his roommate. I even continued living with them, both of them. Yes, cringe. I dated the roommate for 2 years.
Surprise, surprise.
He ends up being a garbage person as well.
Wow, they say college is a wild time.
Yeah, don't know what the percentages are of the college relationships and flings that actually work out versus those that you meet later. And you want to have some stats on that? I'd like to know. Alright, guys. Number 3. We had been dating for a year, and he said he had to go out of town to help his sick Nana, and I knew for a fact that she was sick. We didn't talk much while he was away, and he said it was because he just didn't have good service at her house. We've all heard that. When I was hanging out with mutual friends, including some of his family, and the vibe was just off, finally, his brother sat me down and told me it was their mom who was taking care of their Nana, and that my boyfriend had been spending the week with his ex who was in town also. I immediately went to his place, grabbed all of my things. I'm glad it happened, though, because he was very abusive. Actually, I was too afraid to leave him before that. So hey, sometimes when someone is treating you badly, it is your out.
So sometimes it's a good thing, alright.
Number 24. I just had a gut feeling. We'd been together 9 years, and I ended up finding him on 10+ dating apps and websites under 7 or more different names. He tried to say it wasn't him, as I'm looking at the picture of his face wearing the shirt my mom bought him for Christmas. He thought I was gullible. Okay, not gullible enough, buddy. A lot of smart people out there. If you're cheating, just remember that, alright. Number 25. We were together for 7 years, lived together for 5. We were even engaged. He moved across the country with me and our 2 dogs for my dream job in New York City. Meanwhile, he's having this affair with a girl back home in the Middle West. What they would do is meet halfway under the guise of his late hours at work. He lied about work conferences and would fly her out and stay with her in hotels miles from our apartment. He couldn't afford bills because he was paying all of hers, all unbeknownst to me, because I was working 10 to 12 hours a day and then coming home to do all the chores, the cooking, take care of the dogs. Yeah, that's not a win for her at all. Number 26. I was doing long distance with my now husband, but our relationship was struggling. I felt like I was putting in 150%, yet he was barely putting in 50 financially, emotionally, you name it. Out of the blue, an old flame contacts me, and I started receiving the attention that I was craving. And as the story goes, one thing led to another, and I was unfaithful. This went on for a few months. I come clean to my partner, and we make a commitment to be better. He forgives me like the angel he is. Over. 2 years later, we're married, we own a house and have 3 dogs. But I still think about what I did, and it actually makes me feel sick and ashamed. I know, honestly, that I could have been better. I know my cheating has made us stronger, but I really hate myself for what I have done, and I have a hard time forgiving myself. That sounds like a real story of truth, and the emotions that you can hear going through the story. She's very lucky that this worked out. I mean, how many times do you think cheating actually helps a relationship? These are really great today because we're getting all angles of cheating. Okay, young, older kids married. It's a very interesting subject. It happens in many different ways. I guess, right? Number 27. I'd been with my husband for 4 years. He was military, so we married young. Well, he gets home from a deployment, and he's acting all levels of sketchy. Eventually, he kicked me out. I was floored, but I agreed to move out to keep up whatever level of peace was left. 2 months later, I go down to get the rest of my stuff while he's out of town. The house is a complete disaster. I'm talking 5-foot weeds, cockroaches in the closet, a dirty litter box, etc. It was just disgusting. I went into the bedroom, and amongst all the trash there was all of her things, literally undies and everything. I find an empty box of condoms, which must not have worked out because then I found an empty box of pregnancy tests. Then I find abortion paperwork.
Wow. I don't even know what to say to that.
It just played out one after the other. That's pretty crazy. So our final story of the day. Oh good, it's during COVID, do we remember that? They say? Finally, during the first year of COVID and not long after mandatory lockdowns began, I was working from home, a home that we shared together, and our HVAC repairman pushed our sectional back against the wall, exposing an iPad that I had never seen. Luckily, it was unlocked, but unfortunately I spent the next 3 hours sitting and reading in complete shock. There were graphic pictures and conversations with over 20 women, one of whom my boyfriend and I had both gone to college with, lasting the entire duration of our relationship. I told him to come home, but not before taking as many screenshots as I could to protect myself. I refused to be gaslit by a man so comfortable with his manipulating and lying. Wow, even a COVID cheating story. How does this happen when everyone's on a lockdown? I guess cheating finds a way through anything. I hope that you guys enjoyed listening today. To a real person again. This is Lady R/ bringing you the best to Reddit. Let me know what you want to hear about. Let me know if you like this today, hearing from me, a real person, and I'll have more stories for you soon. We're going to keep posting all day long, so keep the channel up and keep listening, and I will talk to you guys next time.